right with that. Lovely. Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to the East Riding Voluntary and Community Sector Safeguarding Forum, which includes all social enterprises, non-profits, including faith sector as well. It's really for anybody who either is from that sector or works with the sector. So if you've got any colleagues, friends that you think should come along, just let them know about it or let me know and I'll send them an invite to the next one. So I have got the agenda, but I'm going to just wait until a few more people might have arrived before I put it into the chat. So hopefully you will have seen it anyway, because I did send it out as an attachment. But yeah, so but I want to do the apologies if that's all right. We have apologies from Jackie Bowes, who is our High Sheriff, Councillor Victoria Aitken, Matthew Temperton, who is going to present on Prevent. However, I will just say a little bit about that. Trisha Whiting from Irvas and Joe Sanders from The Hinge, who's unable to make it. So has anybody, yeah, Rebecca's coming soon. Has anybody got any other apologies that they'd like to add?
My colleague Tim Buttle apologises, but he won't be able to make it today. There's something quite urgent to come up that he needs to deal with, but I'll be deputising on his behalf. That's brilliant, because you're from Hourglass, is that right, Isabel? Yeah. Yeah, brilliant. So I think Tim's going to be presenting at the Domestic Abuse Forum, isn't he, on the 20th? Yeah. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, we'll see. We look forward to seeing him then. And thank you very much for coming along. Right, okay, so we'll do some introductions, but we will start with Margaret because I'm conscious Margaret's got to leave quite early. So Margaret, do you want to say a little bit about your role and any updates from the Safeguarding Children's Partnership?
Yeah, thank you, Darcy. Hello, everyone. I'm Margaret Ward. I'm the Safeguarding Children's Partnership Manager. And part of my role is within the unit that I work with, we support the key partners, police, health and social care, to make sure that there's effective safeguarding arrangements in place across the East Riding, but also that they work with partners as well, particularly the voluntary sector and other partners within health and across the economy, so that we can make sure that there are good safeguarding practices in place and that everybody has an understanding of what the pathways of support are for children and young people, and how you make those contacts to those services as well. So one of our key areas of work as a partnership and particularly as a business unit is making sure that we've got effective training in place and support for practitioners. So what we've done in terms of a business unit, and the update I want to really bring today is around the learning and development offer. And we've extended our offer. We've got key basic awareness courses around safeguarding, which is based on e-learning, which is accessible through our website. But we've also extended that to include specific sessions that are online, which are available across the partnership. So it includes members of your voluntary groups as well, which are a bit more interactive. They're online, so it makes them accessible, but they are with key practitioners from partners who have got that experience and that frontline knowledge of what it's like to be a practitioner or what it's like to be working with children within the East Riding. Key to note is we've got some threshold briefings. They're an hour and a half. We've put those on one a month. We've varying the dates, the days of the week and also the time. So we've put some on during the day, but also some twilight sessions that would encourage and hopefully make access easier for those that are working and doing those voluntary jobs as well on top of that. So if you've not done any threshold briefing training, please do that. That will explain what our threshold effective model of support is, what the support is available, and how as partners you can access that and get that support in place for the families that you know as you need that. So that's the threshold training. It's monthly. We've also put on the FGM, so female genital mutilation. That's an hour and a half briefing just to explain what that is, what we do as practitioners, but also what the duty to report is, because there is a duty to report for anybody that's working with children and young people around FGM, and what the support mechanisms are there and the reporting mechanisms are. So that's a critical course. We've got one in 19th of October, and then a second briefing in January, 24th of January for that. We were also put on gambling and gaming courses, substance misuse and exploitation. The gambling and gaming and substance misuse are half days, but the exploitation is quite a detailed course, and it's a full day. It talks about all the elements around exploitation, criminal, sexual, and county lines. But it also talks about what's going on within our area and what services are doing to combat that exploitation and what the pathways of support are. Talks a little bit as well around the NRM, the National Referral Mechanism as well, which is a national scheme to get that support in place and also to monitor exploitation. So that may be something that perhaps some of your designated leads within your voluntary sector organisations may want to attend, just so they've got an update around exploitation within the East Riding and those pathways of support. We're also working with the police at the moment to develop an online safety programme, and that course will be virtual and it will be open to practitioners across the partnership. We'll bring that on. I think it's going to probably be end of this year and some dates in the new year as well. And that will be basically what we can do to support young people around that online safety, how we educate them, but also where to go to get that support and help, but also from the police perspective, what the trends are, what they're seeing in terms of online abuse within the East Riding and how they're combating it. So I think that would be a really interesting course for a number of agencies that are, in your organisations that are working with children and young people, just to keep that awareness up to date and know what activity is going on and where to get that support.
That's brilliant, Margaret. Thank you so much for that. Would you be able to put a link into the page where people can kind of find out their, up to date training that you've just described? Because I think then they've got it for future reference.
If I put it in the chat,
yeah, that would be brilliant.
I'll put that in now. Thank you, Detty. I really appreciate that time.
No, that's brilliant. No problem at all. So got some new arrivals. Welcome everybody. We were just starting with the update from the Safeguarding Children's Partnership because Margaret's got to leave early. Also, please do make use of the chat if you want to pop your contact details in. Any links to websites, any other information you'd like to share with others. We will send the chat out afterwards. You should be able to chat to everybody. You can chat to each other directly. However, I will get a transcript of everything, so just be aware of that. So we'll move around, continuing with the introductions, if that's okay. So obviously I'm Detty Tyler. I work for East Riding Voluntary Action Services. We manage the contract for the Voluntary Sector Safeguarding Support Service across East Riding for children and for adults, and that ties in nicely as well with the contract we've got around the domestic abuse lead representative role, and that forum is taking place on the 20th of October as well, so the two will cross over quite nicely and make sure that the sector gets all the support it needs. So that's who I am. I'm going to hand to Gemma. Do you want to introduce yourself, Gemma? This is your first meeting.
Hiya there, hi everyone. Yes, my name is Gemma and I'm obviously a member of the team with AirVAS. I have two roles with AirVAS. My first is the East Riding VCSE Children's Safeguarding Development Officer, and my second role, as Detty touched upon, is the DA Lead Representative Support Officer. So I'm two separate roles, but they do come massively involved in one another. So hopefully I'm providing a bit of an all-round service covering both the safeguarding and the domestic abuse. I'm hoping essentially my role in relation to safeguarding is being a little bit of a key link in terms of safeguarding and bridging services, training, providing that link and that resource to VCSE groups, and holding bespoke sessions around safeguarding issues, and particularly those affecting children and young people across the East Riding. My background is both social work in safeguarding, and also I'm a qualified IDVA. So I have covered employments in both roles. So hopefully I can bring lots of skills and knowledge to support everybody. In terms of updates from us, I am at the point, I've been in role since July, so I'm at the point where I'm trying to connect with as many local community, national, voluntary sector groups in the East Riding and the surrounding areas. And some of them are national, and I've got Jenny here today who's a bit more regional, so she's going to give a bit of an update, bringing them together and gathering that information and being able to share it across the sector essentially. In other updates, we've got the Strive information. So, right, I'll let you.
Well, we can talk about Strive later, Gemma. That's fine. Yeah, we'll take the agenda. I have put a copy of the agenda in the chat for anybody who's not sure of what we're going to be discussing today. But sometimes we change it around. So that's lovely, Gemma. I am going to go to Marie because Marie's got to leave at 2. So Marie, do you want to introduce yourself and give an update from the Safeguarding Adults Board? And then you've got plenty of time as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Detta, and I do apologise if we've just been challenged a little bit today for various reasons. So yeah, my name's Marie Chappell. I'm the board manager for the East Riding Safeguarding Adults Board, and I met a few of you at the last meeting. I do remember everybody's, I remember faces. So in terms of an update for yourselves, a huge focus of our work for the past, I would say, month, on the forthcoming month, has been all the work around Safeguarding Adults Week. So that we've got that coming up. There's a launch meeting which isn't relevant for everybody. It's really kind of a professionals launch, and to meet the chair of the Ancraft Trust, who's coming to do a speech at that launch event, and that's on the 18th of November. So the week after is the full week itself. We've got a massive timetable of opportunities for people to get involved, for people to Zoom in, Teams in, to attend sessions, and that's going to be all shared. Well, it is shared on the board website. I can link you to the website within the chat in a few minutes.
Brilliant.
But there'll be regular updates added to that timetable. It's a bit of a kind of an ongoing beast, if you know what I mean, in a good way. We're doing a newsletter as well. The newsletter will largely focus on that week, really, with a few other bits in there.
Can I just check in, as you've just mentioned the newsletter, did you and Margaret get the little article from Irvas to pop in your respective newsletters? Because I know it was maybe to introduce Tricia and Gemma.
Possibly, really. I'd have to check with Catherine, my colleague who's doing it, which I can do when I finish today.
Yeah, is that all right? Just to check that you got it okay, because I think I sent it about 3-4 weeks ago, just to introduce the new service and what Tricia's role is and what.
Right, okay.
Desi, I've got it, and we will put it in the newsletter. I'm just delayed. There's so much going on at the moment.
That's fine, as long as you've got it.
Newsletter, but I've got it, and it will go in. And I think Marie's similar, aren't you? It's Catherine's got that update.
Okay, I'll double check with her. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
I've got a little bit of a project that somebody's going to pick up, which is to sort of relaunch our publicity material. And by that, we've got some like leaflets, posters, little A4 sheets that describe the different types of adult abuse. And the 2 leaflets actually are about, one's a public leaflet, so that it's a very kind of quite generic, easy read, understanding adult safeguarding. And the other one's more for a professional, so it goes into some of the detail behind capacity and consent and some of that detail really. So we're relaunching that, and I was just thinking then prior to coming in, it might be an opportunity for Irvas, but actually this group, to get involved in some of that work, especially the kind of the public easy read stuff. You know, the stuff might make sense to us that see it every day, but it may not necessarily make sense to the public who are new to it and might need that essential information.
Yeah.
So that I'm just thinking that'd be a really good opportunity. We're also not on the back of safeguarding on the leash, but prior to the pandemic, we did used to go out to public events, public facing events, and it'll be 3 years since we did any of that. Now we're thinking of probably into next year, we're looking at potentially getting into our public events, you know, in leisure centres, libraries, that sort of place. And I'd be interested from your guys' points of view, where the kind of best places might be. We're thinking of maybe markets and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
And maybe tagging into like national days, like, you know, there's Elder Abuse Day, and there's all sorts which we could consider. So if you would give that some thought, that'd be great as well. What else would I just go through? Oh, we've launched what's called a forensics pilot. So some of you might be familiar with, you know, if a child is injured through non-accidental injuries, there'll be a full forensics body scan to check them injuries. The police would be involved and other professionals. Now that service has never existed for adults. And we're very grateful. We've got a very active GP lead on the Safeguarding Adults Board, who's actually worked tremendously hard with the University of Hull Medical School and some others. And she's developed a pilot for that service. It's a joint East Riding and North East Links pilot, which she's got national funding for. And we've had engagement from Health Watch and a couple of groups, because we've developed a patient leaflet. So if somebody's faced with the thought of having a medical examination because they potentially have been the victim of a non-accidental injury as an adult, maybe in a care home or a hospital or in their own home, we've developed a leaflet that explains in the nicest possible way what that service, what they're going to have to undergo as part of a medical. And we've had some really good work done on that leaflet with community and voluntary sector and Health Watch in particular. And that's kind of a model we want to go forward, really, with all our sort of products, services, leaflets, stuff on the website. So just that's a brief update on that. We've finished our annual report for 21-2. It's on the website, and we do an easy read version of that. Myself and the chair go to present that. We did go present that at the Overview and Scrutiny Committee yesterday, the East Riding Board, and we did get scrutinised, but it was all good stuff. So that's available as our back copies for anybody to read what we've done over the past year.
Could you put the link to that in the chat as well, Marie, if possible?
Yeah.
That'd be okay. That'd be really helpful. Yeah. Brilliant.
We're trying to get together with as many professionals as possible to launch a modern slavery local forum. And that's so that we as a board understand the profile of modern slavery in the East Riding. What does it look like? What does the data tell us? You know, where are the significant cases? Because we feel we've got a bit of a gap at that at the moment.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to launch a forum with the right professionals around the table, with the police who can share the data with us. And we might be at some point coming to yourselves just to share that, really. We might do a picture profile for everybody to know where it is, what to look out for. Because I'm guessing, I might be wrong, but I'm guessing there might be some pockets of this around the East Riding that we don't know about. So that's one to watch this space for at the moment.
Yeah, I'd be very keen to get involved with that, Marie, because
I've been given Judith's name actually.
Oh, brilliant. Okay,
yeah.
maybe Tricia as well to get in, but I think from the children's side of it, because I know they're looking at it there as well, aren't they, Margaret, with Shelley? Shelley was looking at something to do with modern slavery and talking about it at a meeting the other week. So for me, it's another topic that covers children and adults. That also the voluntary sector needs to be. Like
where this isn't differentiating it from adults and children at all. The Safeguarding Adults Board has been identified as the lead board. Right. Aspect for the East Riding, so it's for everybody.
Yeah.
So I've gone round all agencies and asked for the appropriate representative from their agency to join this local forum. And I believe it was Sian who gave me Judy.
Right, that's fine. That's great. I'll just liaise with Jude. That's fine. Yeah, brilliant.
And then finally, and it is a number one priority, we've got a new strategy for 2022 to 25. And our number one priority is user engagement in safeguarding. And that's it's quite a big agenda, is that what does it look like? How do we get users involved in the board or our subgroups or our work? And so again, really, I suppose this group might have some ideas about that. You might have your own people that are quite engaged or interested in safeguarding. So any ideas, really, I suppose, of any of the stuff that I've talked about, just feedback to myself or Detta. Really, really appreciate that. Thanks, Detta. That's my update for today.
No, that's brilliant, Marie. And I think we'll spend a bit of time and pick up on some of those things, I think, while we've got you here, because there was a lot of things in that, which obviously I think there's ways that the voluntary sector and the people here today can probably support with. So even if we look at the last point about user engagement, I mean, what kind of ideas do people have about how they could work with Marie and the board to make sure that their service users, their beneficiaries do get that opportunity to get involved? So I think it is such a key point, Marie, like you say. And if anybody wanted to sort of say anything now, or they can get in touch afterwards, because obviously we will send out the minutes, and we could even put it on as a bit of an agenda item for further discussion at the next forum, so we can have more dedicated time, because I think it's such a key thing. Should we look at that, putting it down as a future agenda item? With some,
I think that'd be really useful, actually, yeah, because people don't always kind of think on the feet straight away, do they, when you pose a question like that? It's quite a big thing to think about, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's, that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll do that. One of the thoughts that I was having as you were talking about kind of communication, I suppose it is, which included things like the forensics leaflet that I know you've done some work on with voluntary sector. But there's also, you're referring to the kind of resources and making sure they make sense to users and that kind of thing, which in a way would look at the user engagement, wouldn't it? But it's language, isn't it, and things like that. So how people can I think we could probably bring all of that into the user engagement discussion, couldn't we? Looking at how things are developed and how people make sure that they're understandable, because we all get into a sort of professionalism, don't we, when we're talking all the time? We understand the lingo, and even that's difficult across the sectors and services, so never mind beneficiaries. So I think, if we have that user discussion, it will probably pick up quite a few things there. Marie, do you agree?
Absolutely, yeah.
Great stuff. But in the meantime, if there's anything that you'd like to go out to the groups, then obviously we can send it out. If you want to keep people more in the loop with anything, or there's any specific pieces of work coming up you'd like them to have a look at, either as a voluntary agency or to discuss with beneficiaries, just send it to us, and between myself and Tricia we can get it out.
Brilliant, thanks for that, Detta.
Lovely, great stuff. So if there's no more questions for Marie, we'll move on. Alison, welcome, lovely to see you, and do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for the invite. So I'm Alison Ashton. I'm currently the Domestic Abuse and Housing Service Manager at Preston Road Women's Centre in Hull. But I'm also currently chairing the Violence Against Women and Girls Information Advisory Group across Humberside. So this meeting is going to be really useful to inform me around forums, boards, and work going across the wider region, and hopefully I'll be able to link it in there and link back for some of you in terms of the work you're doing as well.
That's brilliant, Alison. Yeah, because I've got a meeting coming up with Mr. Wildboar to look at VOG being on the next agenda in January. So that is the violence against women and girls. So I think it's really important that people get a really good understanding of what it is and what's happening. So so I'll chat with Mr. Wildboar. I'm not sure whether it be yourself or him or who we want to present, but as long as there's somebody able to do it, Alison, that'd be great.
Well, if he wants to do something specifically from a police perspective, and you want me to pick up something around the IAG and the broader spectrum we seem to be taking with that, then I'm happy to be linked in to do that. That's not a problem.
That'd be brilliant. Okay, I'm chatting with him, I think, next week. I'll see what his ideas are. I'll discuss sort of like what you could also maybe talk about as well, and we'll just have like a good session about Borg. And then I think that's the next agenda really sorted, to be honest. If we have that and then the user engagement bit around Safeguarding Adults Board, that would be really, really helpful. I think
they connect together really well as well, actually. So that would make sense.
Brilliant, especially when you know, looking at some of the ideas for, you know, moving forward with the strategy and the plans, etc. Well, welcome. Thank you very much for coming along. Going to Elaine.
Hi everybody, I'm Elaine and I'm from the Alzheimer Society. And I'm a services manager for the whole of the East Riding, but I do occasionally dip my toes into the other side of Hull as well. I don't know if you want a bit of an update now, Detty, or shall we save it till later?
Let's save it till later. Yeah. We'll save it till later, but thanks, Elaine, that's lovely. Elizabeth?
Thank you.
I'm Elizabeth Branton, and I'm here just to report in to my fellow trustees with the East Riding Village Hall networks. And that's about it, really.
That's brilliant. Welcome, because it's quite a large network, Elizabeth, isn't it, that you've got? So yeah, that's fantastic to have you here today. Thank you very much.
Got 95 user halls at the moment.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of, and it's right across all the areas as well, which is really helpful. It's in really in the rural areas, isn't it? So but sometimes that's really helpful. Isabel.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, so I'm from the charity Hourglass. We've actually been around for about 30 years, and we specialise in supporting older people at risk of harm, abuse and exploitation. The main way that we provide support at the moment is through our national 24/7 helpline. About 60 to 70% of the calls we receive are not from victim survivors themselves, but they're from onlookers, usually family, friends, but we also receive calls from professionals, and that's sort of what I'm here to promote, insofar as if you go into somebody's home, or you're encountering someone on the front line who, you get that feeling in your tummy, something's not quite right, you feel like you want to speak to someone about what their options might be, then please do give us a call and we can provide some advice. Outside of these riding areas, so in Sussex and across the southeast of England, we're actually running a community response service, which is kind of tailored advocacy and advice, one-to-one work with that individual. It's been very successful. We've got direct referral pathways set up with the police, with commissioned domestic abuse services there that we're working alongside. We're attending marriage, we're going to strategy meetings, we're getting injunctions in place, we're getting people into new properties. It's something we'd really like to see set up in this area, but obviously it's fund independent.
Where do you get your funding from, Isabel? From those areas, if you don't mind me asking?
It's from the Police and Crime Commissioner.
Right, okay, yeah.
So under the new responsibilities for the 2021 DA Act, they kind of reallocated the funding, and obviously older people being a kind of at-risk group, they're listed there on the Victims Code. We were able to apply for that funding, and thankfully it was granted to us. So we are expanding across the southeast, but if you know of any funding pots we can apply to in your area, I'll drop my email in the chat and we can talk more about what that service model would look like and how we might be able to support you.
Brilliant. Okay, right. So Marie's got a hand up, and just thinking of funding, I think Tim and yourself are coming to the Domestic Abuse Forum, where funding is on the agenda to look at funding around domestic abuse. So, but Marie, over to you. Got a question.
It's partly been answered, but I was interested in Isabel's the name of your organisation, which I just missed.
Oh, Hourglass.
Oh, of course, Hourglass. Sorry, yes. And so actually I'm just interested in maybe emailing you separately outside this meeting to see about potentials for some joining up in the board, not necessarily attending, but just some areas that we could consider we could work jointly on.
Yeah, definitely. I've put my email in the chat, so if anyone's got any sort of like development logistical questions, do give me an email, and what I'll do Detty, is I'll email you our calling card.
Brilliant.
And then everyone will have that, because there's lots of different ways to get in touch with us if you want.
That would be brilliant. And yes, we do have obviously the Police and Crime Commissioner in the Humber area, and his funding pots have opened again. So I can send you I did a recent, I did do a search around domestic abuse and funding pots, because that's something that I'm presenting on, like I say, the DA forum. So I've got a little report, so I'll send you that as well, Isabel.
That would be great.
Have a little look before the meeting on the 20th.
Amazing.
All right then, well, thank you very much for that. That's lovely. Susie.
Hi everybody, I'm Susie Boville from Home Start Goulan District. So we support families with young children. There needs to be a child under the age of 8 in the family. We do this with home visiting volunteers who are training at the moment. So we've got a few, all the needy families, so open for referrals, yeah.
Lovely to have you here, Susie. And we, I came down and had the pleasure of meeting everybody in the real world, delivering the training session.
You did, you were fabulous. We had, Detty came and delivered safeguarding refresher training to all of our volunteers in July, which was great. It was great. It was our first face-to-face training event, which was so much nicer.
Yeah, it was really good. I have to say, Gemma put the presentation and all the information together for me. So.
Oh, was that you, Gemma? Yes, yes. And you'd gone on holiday, hadn't you? But
yeah, on holiday. Yeah,
I know. Yeah,
it was great. Like the DA info and everything together as well, which was brilliant.
Really
so yeah, well, lovely to have you here, Jenny. Over to you. Do you want to say a little bit about you? Because I know you're going to speak a little bit more under updates, but do you have to leave early? Do you want to do your update sort of now, just because I know you've got to head off a little bit earlier, haven't you?
For me, Detty, sorry.
Yes,
of course I will do.
Yeah.
Hi everybody, my name's Jen and I work for the Principal Trust Children's Charity. We are based in Skipton, but we are here to help all children from across the whole of Yorkshire under the age of 16. And this is children who we class as being either disadvantaged, underprivileged, or suffer from either a mental or physical disability. How we do help the children and their families is we offer free holidays and respite breaks. We own 3 caravans on Martin Mere in Blackpool. And we also own 2 lodges, soon to be 3 lodges at Whitecross Bay on Lake Windermere. Basically, as I say, all our children are, we don't have sort of specific criteria, but we find that we help many children from across the board, and this can be children who have been subject to abuse, subject to trauma, have perhaps witnessed domestic abuse. It may be children who are living in poverty, children who have been in care, they may be young carers themselves, or like I say, it's children with a disability. It might be children with autism, ADHD, or a life-limiting condition. We're here to just give every single child who needs it an opportunity of having a holiday. Basically, we offer the holidays, we give the place to stay for the children and their families. It's a weeks-long holiday, and we don't take on direct family referrals. We work with referring partners. So I'm here today. I've been brought along by Gemma, really appreciate it, because I tend to find that a lot of our current referring partners are based quite heavily within the north and west of Yorkshire. And my aim is to try and reach out further afield and really get to reach out sort of south and east based in Yorkshire. Susie, it may be worth a discussion with yourself. We do work with Home Start Craven, and we've helped quite a few children and their families. So it may be something that you might be interested in yourselves. I'm happy, to have a chat. And anybody else who works with children, children are our focus, then I'd love to have a conversation. Happy to put my email address,
So if you're working, Jenny, with families who are kind of at risk from domestic abuse and have maybe left their home, and obviously that throws all sorts of issues in the way, and just thinking of your role, Alison, is that something that families could apply to yourself for, so that they can, obviously if they've been through a trauma, it would be nice if they could have a bit of respite and have a break away together. safely. Yeah, that's. Do you want to put your details of how people can contact you, Jenny? And
of course I will. Yeah,
that would be amazing.
Yeah, we do work, just to let you know, we do work closely with IDAS.
Oh, great.
You know, I went to meet them in Skipton, you know, because we're obviously based in Skipton. I went to meet Belle there at their Skipton office. And yeah, we send women and children. It's mostly women and their children, and the benefits, you know, it's so lovely to see when we can help. So yes, definitely. Really happy to have conversations. Just to let you know, we don't ask for anything back from anyone. It's not, you know, it's just, we're just here to do good for children.
Are you coming to the Domestic Abuse Forum on the 20th, Jenny?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
That's really good. And is it mainly professionals that would refer, or
yes?
Is it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we work with all different organisations. So we work with social services, schools, hospital trusts, other charities. Just, you know, we find that because we're such a small team, there's myself and my colleague, if we were to take on individual family referrals, we wouldn't be able to manage it.
Yeah.
So how we work by, you know, working with other partners is we hope that children and their families are being referred who do genuinely need and deserve that break. And hopefully those partners obviously already have a formed relationship with a child or children or their family, and we'll refer those people who do need that break. It's all quite an easy process, and we're sort of coming to the end of the season, obviously, for this year. Martin Mere closes down at the beginning of November. White Cross Bay closes down in December. So this is really something that I'm looking to sort of set up for next year, 2023 and beyond. So I'm hoping that having the conversations now, people can be well informed of how everything works, and we can get things booked in.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. Thank you for coming along, Jenny. I know we've just gone out in our e-bulletin as well about.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, thank you.
So that's brilliant. Great stuff. Well, thank you very much for that. Before I move on to you, Rebecca, I am going to ask Elaine to do a bit of an update on Alzheimer's, if that's all right, on Alzheimer's Society, Elaine, because I think we might as well just do updates to the speakers as we go, really. So yeah, over to you, Elaine.
Thank you, Detty, no problem. I'm probably not got a lot to say, to be honest, but this is, I think, my second meeting that I've been to. I actually manage 2 contracts in the East Riding for Alzheimer's Society. One of them is for dementia workers who work with people living with dementia, and there are carers in the whole of the East Riding. So that's the 1,000 square miles. We've got 4 people, so it can be quite a challenge sometimes, and they're not all full-time either. But they meet people either face-to-face in their own homes, at GP surgeries, or just over the telephone, whatever is best for the person with dementia, really. And the other contract is quite an exciting one, which I did want to tell you about. It's a brain health post that's been funded from January this year on a year's contract. We're trying to get the continued funding, and this person actually goes around the whole of the East Riding in venues. Now, I was interested about the venue conversation earlier on. Where's the best place to go? Is it markets and things like that? Because we have been to Beverley Market and people are shopping. They didn't want to really. They just picked up a leaflet and off they went. But so sometimes libraries are a better option for being based. But Sam, our brain health worker, she goes to Bridlington, Market Wheaton, Heddon, Beverley, Goole, and she promotes brain health and encourages people to go and get a diagnosis if they're a bit concerned about the memory loss. We've been doing a fantastic project with Holderness Health at Heddon, and obviously Holderness is the whole of the area, Withensea, Bear Street, Thornbald, etc. And there's a really good social prescriber based at the Heddon practice, and we've been working with her on a project to improve waiting times to get a diagnosis. So what the brain health post told us, Sam has been doing, is doing something what we call the 6 CIT test, and that's the test to check your memory. So there's 10 questions, and it's things like repeating the alphabet backwards or months of the year backwards, those types of things, and you need to get sort of 7 out of 10. If you're getting less than that, that would trigger, you really do need to see somebody, really, just have that conversation. So she's been doing that with the people who are concerned about the memory. Then the social prescriber organises the bloods. So when they get to the GP, all that work has been done rather than just coming to the GP and having to start the process from scratch. So it's been a really sort of good exercise to do, really. And it's saving GP time, efficiencies, money, and for the person potentially with dementia, and it's not always that, it could be something else, they're getting a much improved service as well. So that's a really good project that we're doing at the moment. We do have activity groups as well for people with dementia and their carers. They attend together in East Riding. We've got 8 groups a month: Beverley, Bridlington, Preston, Market Wheaton, etc. But I would, put a plea out if possible, and I'll put the details in the chat when I've finished. We're starting a group in Goole, and we're really finding it hard to get started. We had one before the pandemic, and we had about maybe 8 or 9 people that used to come to the library at Goole. We've changed premises because due to COVID, we just wanted somewhere with a bit more where you could open windows and things, all those sorts of things. But the first one's on the 7th, which is this week. Maybe a little bit early to promote it, but maybe next month. It's the first Friday of every month at the courtyard, 10:30 to 12:30. And it's for people, I say, with dementia and the carers to come along, have a chat, maybe do some activities, do a quiz, have a cup of tea, all those sorts of things, and get support from each other. And I just really, if possible, if people could promote that particular one, it would be really helpful.
What's it called, Elaine? Is it the Hidden Friends group? Or...
No, that's a new group that started.
Yeah, that started. I've seen our e-bulletin today. So that's
I went to their opening thing at Bridlington last week. Actually, yeah, they've got something going on in Hornsey, and it's a gentleman and his wife who has dementia. And he used to be on the council at Hornsey, and he decided now his wife's got dementia, he wanted to set this particular group up called Hidden Friends. Yeah. So they've got one in Hornsey, but now they've launched one in Bridlington at the football ground.
Right. Okay.
And that's on a Tuesday. It was on Radio Humberside as well. Yeah, so he actually might come to the group actually in Goole, but there's a few different groups just starting up in the area, which is great news for us, because you can't be everywhere. And you'll find pockets of people where Market Wheaton, for example, maybe 20, 25 people will come, but at Preston there might be 8 or 9, but it's valuable for everybody. Yeah. But in terms of Goole, I think we've got maybe 2 or 3 interested, so a few more would be really helpful.
Do you want to send anything to me to put in the bulletin?
That'd be lovely. If I send you a flyer, would that be okay?
Send me a flyer, because I'll also send it to Goole Youth Action, because although that's Youth Action, they're tied in with lots of things to do with Goole. And they'll have connections to, like the Moorlands, for instance, Jackie at the Moorlands. Obviously, Susie, you're connected to things in Goole as well.
Yeah, I was going to suggest the Together for Goole gatherings.
Good idea. Yeah.
Happen I'll send you the details, Elaine, and I'll put you in touch with the right person. Yeah, it's basically any agency or organisation with stuff going on in Goole.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you very much.
That's brilliant. Okay, thank you. Okay. Right, well, I'm going to hand over to Rebecca. I'm not going to go through the minutes of the last meeting, and the reason being that it was the last meeting like this was April, 7th of April, because then we had the safeguarding workshop in Safeguarding Week in June, so we didn't run it like a meeting like this. And when I was going through the matters arising, and you know, you'll have all seen the copy because it was on the invite, there was only really Joe where there was an action that was specific, everything else has been done. But Joe's not here. So I can't really feed back to Jo because she sent apologies. So yeah, and that was completed as well. So unless anybody wants me to go through the matters arising from last time's minutes, speak now. Forever hold your peace. Lovely. So I'm going to hand over to Rebecca, who's going to talk about her role as the DBS Regional Coordinator. So Rebecca, over to you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for the invite, and thank you to everybody for giving me the time to share what we do at DBS today, and particularly my role as your regional outreach advisor for the Disclosure and Barring Service. So I'll not take up too much time because I know everybody's time is precious and some people need to leave early, but in essence, the Disclosure and Barring Service, we're a public body, and what we do is we contribute to the safeguarding arena in 2 halves, really. So the first half is helping employers and volunteer recruiters make safe recruitment decisions by providing criminal records checks. And there's different levels of checks and different eligibility for each level of check, depending on your need. The other half of what we do here at DBS that contributes to safeguarding is our barring functions that aren't as well known as our criminal records checks. The barring functions are basically, there's two lists. There's a child's barred list and an adult's barred list. And those are individuals that are barred by DBS from working in regulated activity with vulnerable groups. Now, on a regional level, that's the overarching, but on a very local regional level, the Disclosure and Barring Service, after different pockets of feedback, they were aware that they probably weren't the most accessible and approachable organisations, particularly for the voluntary sector, when it came to finding out about the different levels of checks, the eligibility for accessing those checks, how to access a check, and, you know, some information on what to do with the information that is provided on a check when you get it, that kind of thing. So the DBS set up a pilot scheme a couple of years ago where they put advisors on the ground, a first point of contact for anyone and everyone across all sectors who can provide some information, advice and guidance on a very bespoke level, again, to anyone and everyone across that region. The feedback was fantastic, so they've rolled it out now across all the regions, including Wales and Northern Ireland. So as your, and I can't stress that enough, underline your, I am your advisor, we're a public service, I am here to serve you and support you in whatever way that will be with anything DBS. So if you have questions, again, about checks, how to access a criminal records check from DBS, the eligibility around that, please give me a call. Drop me an email with a role description through and I'll guide you through the process and what level of check you could access as part of the legislation. And equally, if you come across anyone that you supervise or line manage, whether that be a volunteer or a paid member of staff, and because of safeguarding reasons, you have had to remove that person from that role, please feel free to talk to me confidentially on a one-to-one, and it is me you get through to, it's not a switchboard, it's directly me, about making a referral to DBS. There are two types of routes when it comes to referring to DBS. Sometimes there's a legal obligation to do so. So if you're providing what's called regulated activities to children, adults, sometimes both, and you remove a volunteer or a member of staff because of safeguarding concerns and issues, there could be a legal obligation to refer to the DBS. And thankfully, in one respect, that a lot of organisations aren't completely au fait with that process. That can be a good thing because you've not had to come across that scenario or situation before. But also it means you're not very familiar with how to make a referral, the kind of information that we need and what we'd look to you for in terms of information so we can make a decision on whether or not to bar that person from working with vulnerable groups. Again, I'm here to guide you through that process. If you need any advice, information, or you just want to test something out informally with me, it could be a scenario where we've had this volunteer and we've had to let them go because of X, Y, and Z. I've got concerns about them being fit to work with vulnerable groups, put my teeth in vulnerable groups even, and you just want to talk that through with someone at the DBS. That's me. That's how you can contact me, and that's what I'm here for. And of course, as an organisation or as a community group, if you want something like a workshop, some micro learning, or as an organisation, you probably have your own in-house training packages that would benefit from a mini bolt-on to that training package that's something specific around DBS, the criminal records checks, the barring functions, anything really. I'm more than happy to help and oblige. And again, we're a public service, so any information, support, advice, any training or workshops we deliver, it's free. We are a public service. And that's why I've had so many problems signing on to this meeting today. And Detty and the rest of the participants, I can only apologise. The Disclosure and Barring Service is part of the Home Office, and quite rightfully so. The Home Office have some very strict internet protocols around signing on to different things. And for whatever reason, the Home Office doesn't like Zoom. So I'm so sorry I was late. It's because I had to get off one computer and try and sign in on another. I am so sorry.
Worries. No worries at all. No, honestly, thank you so much for coming along, Rebecca, because I just think it's so useful to have you, there that at the end of the phone or coming to a meeting like today, because there are you know, so many questions people still have around DBS. I mean, we do a lot of DBS checks for voluntary and community groups. We use YouCheck as our umbrella body, and we've done DBS checks for, gosh, it must be nearly 14 or 15 years, moving from paper-based to online, and you know, it's that regulated activity which tends to be the key concern. And, you know, groups say, well, everybody's going to get an enhanced DBS check. Everybody are trustees, everybody. It's like, yes, well, so it's that understanding of, you know, why they have regulated activity and why you do. Yeah. So for me, it's fantastic to have you. And as we're all talking today, I'm getting the idea, Marie, maybe next year we could maybe look at planning a voluntary sector conference or something around safeguarding, and looking at a number of topics. And I'll obviously discuss it with yourself and Margaret in more detail, but I think if we did something like that, having a workshop on DBSs would be fantastic, you know.
Oh yeah,
that would be something really useful.
More than happy to help in whatever way I can. Yeah.
And the timing as well, because I think people are ready actually, aren't they, to do what we call proper stuff, you know, out there, and get, because we used to once run some really successful where you could go around. It was like a half a day or even a full day, and you went around different little stations, where there was little talks or breakout rooms or whatever, but there were actual useful information. People went with stuff to take away, made great networks and that sort of thing. And that's what's really lacking now, isn't it? People have just had quite a lot of, you know, too much time on the screen.
Yeah, and I think Gemma said something to me last week, didn't you, Gemma? You'd been at one of the road shows, and somebody, do you want to say what Osman had said about the networking element?
Yeah, so the feedback was that I've been attending the parish roadshows that are currently being run by Smile, and they are in different localities for, like you say, a few hours for the day, and they are a range of support services and partner agencies that are there supporting voluntary and community groups with different things. And part of it is advertising what these groups are doing, and the other half of it is they are there to support the groups as well. So like myself and Trisha have been there discussing the safeguarding aspects of our roles. But a lot of the feedback was that that particular meeting of actually, rather than sitting down in a meeting and discussing services, but having little pop-ups, little tables of from different groups, and being able for somebody to go around and actually have those one-to-one conversations. I know Rebecca was there, so I'm sure she'll agree. It was just really useful, and it made a nice change because people were stood up, they were mingling, and rather than just giving a brief overview of what they're doing and then moving on to the next people, these groups was actually communicating group with group rather than just being delivered information. So that was really, you know, and I took that on board and thought, yeah, there's something there that we need. And that's when obviously I shared it with Etty.
I think that's definitely something for us to look at for next year, and have it very focused on safeguarding, but topics of safeguarding, the networking element, you know, stands and lots of information to be shared. And I just think there's so much to be gained from it. And I think, like you say, Marie, everybody's getting ready to do that now, aren't they? Everybody's, you know, much more happy to get back. So we'll look at planning something for maybe for around Easter time, you know, in the real world, have a really big event and get, particularly focused on safeguarding for the voluntary sector and partners. So yes, Rebecca, you will be getting an invite to that. Because
very pleased about that. I am, and I mirror everything Gemma said. That was a really useful event, and just from my own perspective, it really helped in terms of dispelling some of the myths around DBS and also providing some reassurance. There was one particular person who they were linked to an organisation, but they were a member of the public, like any of us are as well. And we had a little chat about criminal records checks and what's revealed, because their story, without getting into too many personal details, is they have a lot to offer. And one of the barriers to offering such really good insight and quality of support in that voluntary sector was what a DBS check would tell a volunteer organisation about them that they might be not so happy is disclosed. Because their understanding was that everything would be disclosed. So we had a talk through, and from that, I'm hoping anyway, from that, because that person's got more insight into the process and how the voluntary sector, the different types of check and how they marry it with the voluntary sector and that safer recruitment, I am hoping that person does go on to volunteer more, which is what they want to do.
Yeah,
and it would be very enriching.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And that's the opposite side of it, isn't it? For it's bearing in mind people's right to privacy. You know, that's the balance, isn't it? What, you know, you only know what you need to know. That's why they have regulated activity. Marie, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that it's really interesting because it's going back a few years ago now. We've got a subgroup of our board called an audit group, and we audit some of the safeguarding activities. So from kind of the start of the journey through to what happens to it's adults in this case, and quite a few occasions, the professionals were unsure or unclear how to refer to the DBS. And we ended up producing, from documentation on the DBS's own website, we did a bit of an easy read thing, a kind of a journal of how to report, who can report, and some very generic stuff. And shared that across the partnership, across lots of agencies. But we were quite surprised as professionals of the lack of understanding and how easy it actually is and how useful sometimes it is for the right reasons, obviously. So yeah, I think it's really interesting that you're coming into these groups now, and I think, you know, it's a kind of a moving feast is DBS, isn't it, and people's understanding of it.
People
Exactly. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say people get quite scared of it, I think.
Yeah.
They do worry. They worry about ringing DBS, you know, and I think it's like you said earlier, Rebecca, it's because they don't know who they're talking to. They see it as just this big organisation that's, you know, obviously very legal, and it's very much, you know, that hard end of safeguarding as well, isn't it? So they just get quite worried about what they're going to say and, you know, what's going to happen. And, you know, so it's really good that they've got a person to relate to.
And exactly, and I
Rebecca
will.
As well, and as approachable as you, I have to say.
Oh well, thank you. And I didn't even have to bribe or pay for that, Detty. I'm very flattered. Thank you.
Oh, that's okay.
No, that's very nice, and you're very generous. Thank you sincerely for that. And yeah, any support I can offer, because when it comes to the barring function, so preventing those unfit individuals from working in regulated activity with our most vulnerable members of society, including children, we can only do that through the referrals pathway. The DBS have no legal powers of investigation, so we are reliant on professionals and organisations like yourself in giving us the information so we can use that to then remove unfit people from working with vulnerable groups. And any way that we can help make that process understandable, accessible, provide support, that's what we're here to do. That's what I'm here to do. I'll make sure my contact details are in the chat box.
Yeah, lovely.
And please remember, I'm always at the end of an email or a phone call if there's anything you want to talk to me about. Yeah, definitely.
Great. So, and you are for not just voluntary groups, just to make it very clear, you're there
everybody.
For everybody. You're there
Absolutely,
for all the from all
everybody.
The sectors, all the services.
I am here for the Chief Exec of East Riding Council, all the way down to Mr. and Mrs. Smith, who have set up a group for the local kids and do it in the spare time. If it's about safeguarding and DBS have a part to play rather in that, please contact me.
Excellent. That's brilliant, Rebecca. Thank you very much. Okay. So the next item on the agenda was Matthew Temperton was going to come along from the Community Safety Partnership to talk about Prevent, but unfortunately, because something's cropped up to do with safeguarding, so he's been called away. But the main thing that Matthew was going to talk about was there were two things. One was it's all linked to awareness raising and training, really, around the Prevent agenda and the topic of Prevent in terms of anti-radicalisation, particularly in regard to East Riding. So one of the things that Matthew and I are working on with Gemma and with Tricia, who are the two development officers for the voluntary sector, are putting together some awareness raising sessions for voluntary and community groups to get a better understanding of what Prevent is, what does it mean, what does it look like in East Riding, how do you raise concerns, things like that. And we're going to be running those sessions, probably starting, I think, early December. Gemma, is that right? I mean, I know you're meeting Matthew tomorrow, aren't you, you and Tricia, to plan it a little bit more. And we're going to run them from November, well, December through to kind of February, but then it'll probably continue. And they'll probably be 2 to 3 hours, very informal, lots of questions and opportunities to discuss. And we're going to be starting in Bridlington. Dates are not yet set. And then we're going to go to Withensea, and then we're going to go to Goole. But then what we will do is we will then roll them out to other areas of East Riding. But they are very basic awareness raising sessions about the subject of prevent and what it means. So Gemma and Tricia will deliver those with Matthew. The other thing that is related to prevent is that the new online training programme is available now, and I am going to put a link in the chat. In fact, I'm going to share the screen so you can have a quick look at when I share it, what it brings up. So can you all see that? So I'll share this link. It's the Prevent Duty Training, learning how to support people who might be vulnerable to radicalisation. There are 3 courses. There is course 1, which is basically another awareness course, but this is a national programme delivered through the Home Office, so it won't necessarily have that local flavour, which the awareness sessions Gemma's delivering with Matthew will have. Course 2 is how to make referrals, and course 3 is about the channel, sort of, which is high end. You have things like Channel Panel, where they discuss individuals who they feel have been radicalised and are a risk. So these are the different courses which you can share with volunteers, trustees, employees, anybody that you feel is it would be relevant for. So I'll put that link into the chat box. I met with, when I was talking to Margaret Ward, who's left the call earlier today, we were talking about the Safeguarding Children's Partnership and their training that she was referring to, and she's put the link in the chat. But what we'd said was if she could also put in the chat links to things like prevent and domestic abuse and other training that really relates to keeping people safe, then at least if people know her link, they get used to going to that link, and then they will see, oh, there's also this prevent training. It isn't delivered through the Safeguarding Children's Partnership, but obviously it complements that work. And the same with domestic abuse, because obviously there's lots and lots of training that we're looking at. Gemma's going to be doing some train the trainer around the DAP training programme, which will be delivered probably starting next year to the voluntary sector, Gemma, I would imagine, because you're doing the training in November, is that right? Here comes my dog, sorry, go away. There's the training for prevent in the chat. So has anybody else got anything they want to ask about prevent, or anything they particularly want to find out? There was nothing else that Matthew really wanted to update at this moment. And if you want to come, once we roll those sessions out, you can book onto those with any volunteers are very welcome, employees are welcome, share them. And then obviously there'll be opportunity to ask lots more information then. And I do think that would be one of the topics I would want to look at a safeguarding conference next year, along with domestic abuse and modern day slavery. So, okay, Gemma, do you want to finish your update and talk about Strive?
Yes, of course. So yes, it's only a small bit of information, but we had a meeting with a lady from Strive, and they are running a platform for safeguarding leads, which provides support, sharing of information, and a little bit of a forum, if you like, to gain answers with any queries concerning safeguarding issues or concerns within the context of the group or the. So we will be able to, well, I'm guessing we'll be able to provide that information in the chat, Detty.
Yeah.
And basically, do you want to add any more?
I was just going to say, what I think we might do is we may arrange to put on a bit of a workshop session with Strive. Yeah, for people to come along to who are safeguarding leads, so that you can actually see what the platform offers, how you use it, how you're linking with other designated safeguarding leads, and we can organise that probably, I think, for either early, well, I'd probably think towards the end of November, early December, Gemma. It'd be an online session, I would imagine, as well. So if people think that would be a good idea, yeah, perfect. So we'll organise that, Gemma. We'll ask, I can't remember her name, to organise that with us. That's lovely. Was there anything else you wanted to update, Gemma? Because I know You said you
I think it was the information on Stride, the roadshows which I've mentioned. So for any local and voluntary community groups or partners, if you do have anything that you would like to share with the local community, they are set in most of the key areas across the East Riding, and they're running one a week up until probably towards the end of November. You can contact Michelle at Haysmile, or even if you contact me, I can pop you in touch with her if you want any information. But they've been a really good space for groups to connect, and also for those to share what they have got in the area, what support and resources they're offering, and connecting with other groups in the area. The National Safeguarding Week, which we've said, we're going to be delivering a workshop of a safeguarding nature for anybody interested in attending that, and that'll be about creating safer cultures within voluntary and community groups. And I believe that's my list.
The training request form. I'm not sure if you want to mention your training request form, because that's something you've just developed, isn't it?
Yes, so for any local community volunteer groups that would benefit from some kind of bespoke and tailored safeguarding support, we have developed a training form so that we can either email that out with you, or with some people have been completing it over Zoom, where you can have that face-to-face chat, which is a little bit nicer. And looking at all the different areas of kind of safeguarding support, and looking at what specific support is useful for a training session. So for some groups, they've been looking at safeguarding on a community and a supporting level. So they're looking at some of the key themes that are affecting children, young people and adults, because obviously the crossover across these rounds are community supports, things like the food crisis, social isolation, things like that. But actually getting to the bottom of what support volunteers, staff, paid staff and unpaid require. And part of my role and Trisha's has been about us using the safeguarding policies that people have got in place, but bringing them to life and creating a context for that safe and open discussion about safeguarding issues. And so also, if anybody would like that.
Also, you're able to look at the domestic abuse side of it as well, aren't you? So that's just throw that one in there, because obviously it's relevant.
Yeah, I've been covering it in terms of what we're delivering at the minute, and then hopefully we'll be able to just expand upon that even further once that training's underway with the DAPS training.
And one of the things that'll be useful for us when we start to find out what training groups are wanting, then I can discuss that more with people like Margaret Ward, Anne-Marie, to look at the training offer and who's delivering what, who can provide what. So if it's not URVAS, who is able to provide it. So if there's any training that you offer yourselves that relates to safeguarding, please let us know as well, because that's always useful, because we can promote that, if it's available to others. So thank you very much, Gemma. Really, if there's anything else people want to update on, we haven't had the opportunity yet, if there's any other business or anything else they want to cover. So I'm just going to throw it open. If you've got anything else you want to let us know about, so I know we've all kind of done updates as we've gone, haven't we? The only other things that I wanted to mention is that URVAS has got what we call a local links website, and it's where it's got information about lots and lots of different types of groups across East Riding and beyond, but we look after East Riding, and if you're not on it already and you'd like to be, just let me know, because it's kind of like mapping, but it's a way of promoting your service. And I'll do a quick link share if I can, just to sort of show you what it looks like. It's divided into categories, however, so that's what it kind of looks like. So you can search for, so it's locallinks.org.uk, then you can search in your area. You've got lots and lots, I've lost it now, lost it. Can you see it again? Can you see it? Yeah. Oh, I hate technology. So you can search for lots of different types of groups. So you've got things like sport and exercise, support for young people, shops and cafes, community services, disability, lots of things like that. But we are going to add a category on here, which is going to be something like keeping people safe. So if you feel your organisation has got a service that helps to keep people safe, we'd like you to be on there. So we're going to be sending information out to groups, or Gemma and Trisha are, and we're going to be adding that on, because that will be something where we can have it, where people, if they are wanting to look at what services can help to keep people safe across East Riding and neighbouring authorities, they can go on, they can see whether it's children, adults, both, and it can list different types of organisations and services we've got in East Riding that really help towards, you know, keeping our beneficiaries and our residents safe. So and that'll be helpful for people like the Safeguarding Children Partnerships as well as the Safeguarding Adults Board. So that's something we're working on. And the only other thing I wanted to add is there is something called the Knowledge Hub, which is another platform, another lovely technological platform that is national. However, we are going to add the Safeguarding Voluntary Safeguarding Children, Safeguarding Forum and the Domestic Abuse Forum. We're going to add it on there as a group. So you may receive an email, because on there we will put the recordings, because we are recording this. So as well as doing the minutes, we do usually save it as well as a recording for people to access who couldn't make today's meeting. And so we'll be recording it. That will go onto the Knowledge Hub along with copies of the minutes, and any other paperwork, other things, potential consultations. So it's like a working professional network really online. So we're going to set that up and we will send everybody an invite to it. You don't have to go on it. It's really up to you. But it means that when there's large files to share as well, you can't always share them via email. It will be a restricted access just for members as well. So it's not that just anybody can go on it. So we'll keep you informed and send you information about that after the meeting. So that's it. Is there any other business? No, brilliant. Okay, well, I'm going to set the next meeting probably towards the end of January next year, if people are okay with that, because obviously Christmas is kind of in the middle. So I do want to make sure that after I've had my meeting with Mr. Warbour about the violence against women and girls, that he can come along if he wants to come along, and obviously yourself as well, Alison. So and I'll need to check dates with Marie and Margaret too. But it'll be towards the end of January, and we will send you an invite as soon as we can. And in the meanwhile, take care and lovely to see you all. Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye bye.